All right, we just wrapped up week 14 of the NFL season. Just 4 weeks remaining. The playoff picture is starting to come into clear focus now. And unfortunately, some of our teams are officially being eliminated from playoff contention. It's time to look forward to the offseason and the draft. But I'm going through, I'm watching 99% of all these games. I'm taking notes, keeping tabs, ranking all 32 teams, 1 through 32. Let's just hop on into it. Let's get it started with our bottom tier teams, teams fighting for that number one overall pick, teams 32 through 23. Okay, the Giants here at 32. What a disaster. We got people flying planes over the stadium asking ownership to fix this dumpster fire, and I don't know how they're going to fix it, but they move into the number 2 spot for the NFL draft, potentially getting ready to move up and maybe draft that quarterback. Shadur Sanders, anybody? New England Patriots, this team is terrible. This head coach is terrible, but I like Drake May. Tennessee, yeah, a lot is terrible. Will Levis, by God, awful. Brian Callahan is a bad head coach as well, but I don't know. Their defense is okay. Like, they only gave up 10 points to the Jaguars. They're not bad. Vegas, they play hard at least. At least Vegas plays hard. They have no quarterback. They have no running game. In fact, I love Brock Bowers. He's a dog. We got Max Crosby still. The defense really isn't that good. Jacoby Myers is like solid, but not a good coach. Probably going to get a quarterback, though. They have the first pick as we currently speak. Jacksonville, yeah, bad coach, no GM. Trevor's dead. I don't know, man. I don't know how you fix Jacksonville, but maybe you roll it one more time with Trevor with a real quarterback. Dallas, Cooper Rush, he's bad. Mike McCarthy, bad. That block, punt, fumble, recovery to lose the game to Cincinnati just epitomizes the Cowboy season. New Orleans at 26, they won, barely. And now Derek Carr is injured with like a shattered hand. Like, he's done for the year. I don't know who's a quarterback. Taysom Hill's gone. Yeah, I don't think they're winning any more football games. Carolina, that's 2 weeks in a row. I feel like the Panthers should have won. Xavier Leggett dropping that touchdown. Maybe he was the guy that bet $3 million on the Eagles to beat the Panthers straight up. The Jets, the Rodgers threw for over 300 yards, but this thing is a dumpster fire. We knew that. There's no running game, no Breece Hall, and they still managed to lose this game. Davante Adams goes out of bounds instead of running the clock out before what should have been the game-winning field goal. My God. I feel bad for my Jets family and friends. Cleveland, we got the Jameis Winston experience again, but except there was no good. It was just all bad. Turnovers, couldn't really do much. Some garbage points late. All right, and let's get into our middle tier teams 22 through 16. Okay, Chicago at 22. I repeat, they had four total yards at halftime against the 49ers, outgained by over 300 yards in the first half. Easily the worst offensive performance we've seen from a team in a half. I mean, good God, Chicago. You figured firing Eberflus would be better. It's not. Colts on a bye this week, but you know what? They have a shot. They are playing the Broncos this upcoming week. They beat the Broncos. They are right there in that final wild card spot. Atlanta, this game was close. Kirk Cousins looked better in the first half. Still not great, but he ends up throwing 2 bad picks. Run game was good. Defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. They get hammered out there. All right, San Francisco at 19. You know what? They may have saved their season. Brock Purdy looked really good. That was kind of a massive win for them. They're beat up everywhere. Isaac Guerrero steps in, has a nice game. Of course, he gets hurt as well. They play on Thursday in a critical matchup against the Rams. Kind of feels like must win for the Niners, or the season is done. Arizona, they might already be done. Losers of 3 in a row. They get bullied by the Seahawks in Arizona. Kyler Murray, man, he's just like, this is Kyler Murray. He's good enough, but not good enough to get it done for you guys. Really frustrating all around from him, and they could not stop Zach Charbonnet. Cincinnati at 17. You know what? The Bengals, they won. The offense did not play great. They were kind of up and down, but the defense did a much better job against a terrible Dallas offense. They ended up getting the stops. Jamar Chase continues to shatter records, and he is looking to get absolutely paid this offseason. He is putting up massive performance week in and week out. So Bengals still technically alive, but it's probably a really, really long shot for them. And finally, Miami at 16, kind of hanging around. It was looking bad, man. They should have taken care of this Jets team, but they managed to put it together. They get the game-tying field goal with inside of a minute. They go in, win the coin toss, go right down the field, score a touchdown, keep the season alive for the Dolphins. And you know what? They're kind of frisky. They can move the football. Tyreek Hill goes over 100 yards. Devon Achane's still scoring. And Tua's been awesome since coming back from injury. I don't think enough people are talking about how great Tua has been. But, it's the off-schedule stuff. It's the off-script stuff we have worries about. But he was really good in those last few drives against the Jets to get the job done. But let's just get into it. What you came here for. My top 15 teams, starting off with number 15. All right, I got the Rams here at 15, a massive win for LA. They get above 500 for the first time this season, now 7-6, 44-42. Holy cannoli, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Stafford bringing out prime Matt Stafford, and this is what we've worried about with this team. If they could get things right, if they could get things going, boy, oh boy, is this offense a juggernaut. Puka Nacua might be the best possession receiver in the NFL. He's unbelievable, man. He just gets open. He blocks as good as anybody out there on the edge. He makes a spectacular catch each and every week. He sells his body out. I get worried, like my man's diving around. He's going to get injured out there. Cooper Kupp still really, really strong from him. Kyron Williams on the ground in the run game. The defense wasn't great. It was really bad. We knew this defense isn't good. They are young. They are good up front. They lead the league in pressures, I believe. They are getting after people, but it's still, you know what? Can the Rams get it done? They're not going to face an offense like Josh Allen the rest of the way. They got to win out, though, to win this division. They're in a pretty tight situation here. Maybe if they get some help, they could catch Washington or Green Bay for that last wild card spot, but they're got a tall task ahead of them. But I think the Rams they can do it. The schedule isn't anything crazy coming up. Big Thursday night game against the 49ers, but then I think they can get to the spot that they need to potentially for a playoff game against Seattle the final week of the regular season. Rams are starting to feel dangerous, but can they keep it up here at number 15? All right, Houston here at 14. They had a bye this week. Texans offense has just been really making me want more. They just don't do quite enough. They can run the football when they get Joe Mixon over 100 yards and a touchdown. Things are going a lot better. Obviously, the offensive line is a train wreck. They cannot protect. CJ Stroud just really isn't that good this year. He's making bad decisions. He's kind of reckless with the football. He's holding on to it too long, and he's missing guys. Now, Nico Collins getting fully healthy now. He's been back a couple weeks, and he gets the extra week off now. I think is going to really help. He's been spectacular this season, a true elite number one wide receiver this year. Defense isn't great. Their pass rush is excellent, but the back end is so bad. And I don't love the stuff D'Amico Ryan said and the GM said about the Azeez Al-Shaair thing. Like, yo, it was a late hit. It was a dirty hit. Just take it, man. Like, you can defend your guy, but it was just, I didn't love it whatsoever. Houston in a weird spot, but they're going to win this division. This division is a train wreck. They're going to have a home playoff game. What they can do as far as a deep playoff run remains to be seen. They need to show a lot more consistency on offense and a lot better coverage on the back end. Texans here at 14. Okay, the Broncos here at 13, maybe one of the more surprising teams this way this season has gone for them, but it's been a very soft schedule, and they've taken care of business. My biggest concern now is this defense that's been carrying this team a large chunk of the way really was awful against Cleveland. They couldn't stop a nosebleed. I know they were missing a guy in the secondary, and that third corner out there was good, god awful. But the offense did enough. They did get a couple of pick sixes against them. I'll be interested to see what they look like against Indianapolis. They're going to have no real passing threat with Anthony Richardson besides the home run ball, which they were very susceptible to. Patrick Surtain, who are they going to have him on? Anthony Richardson just kind of throws it all over the place. You don't have a favorite receiver. Maybe it's Alec Pierce, but it's definitely not Michael Pittman Jr. So that could be interesting, and they're going to pound the rock. Denver's run defense has been the best part of their defense, so we'll see how that matchup goes. And, the offense has been good enough. Bo Nix is turning it around. He has one or two bad throws that usually lead to a pick every single game, but he's efficient, doesn't really panic, doesn't do too much, anything crazy. Had a couple of really nice throws downfield. If they can keep that developing, I think Denver's going to be getting this last wild card spot. And are they a live dog in the first round against, Buffalo? Maybe. I wouldn't be too confident. I think they're probably a year away from maybe being a year away, but good job for Denver right now. Broncos here at 13. All right, don't look now at 12. I got the Seattle Seahawks. Look at this team. Winners of 4 in a row. This team was dead just a month ago. They went into their bye. It was like this season is over for them. They come out. They beat the 49ers. They beat the Cardinals twice. and they beat the New York Jets. So they are riding high and they own firm position as the number one team in the NFC West right now. And the schedule isn't anything insane for them. Now, they do have the Packers and Vikings both in Seattle, though. They got to go to Chicago on a short week and then finish up at the Rams. That could be to decide the division. But I really like what I've seen out of Seattle. The defense has been so much better. They are taking away teams' run games. They are making life really, really difficult for anybody who wants to commit to the run game, and they got to throw the football. They're getting a decent pass rush, and the secondary's been a lot better. They've been a lot better. They have not been as disastrous as they were during that stretch there. Offensively, I still think Geno's doing a really nice job. They can move the football. The offensive line is terrible. That's a big concern for me. They can't necessarily protect against good pass rushes. It's going to be really tough for them. But I like what Zach Charbonnet added in the run game. As much as I love Kenneth Walker, they have not been able to get really anything going on the ground with him as their primary back. But Charbonnet seemed to add a little bit different mix to the equation, added a little bit extra in the passing attack with him. I think the Seattle Seahawks could be a very dangerous team, hosting a playoff game, getting a team like Green Bay or Washington in the first round. That could be very, very interesting. I think Seattle could be a team that maybe surprises some people. I picked them before the season as a wild card spot. I didn't know the NFC West was going to look like this, but for right now, I like the Seahawks, and I think they're going to get this thing done, win this NFC West here at number 12. Okay, at 11, I still got the Buccaneers here. Look, it wasn't the prettiest of games. It was kind of a weird game. Buccaneers came out, scored touchdowns on their first two drives, jump out to a 14-0 lead, and it's like, oh yeah, Tampa's about to roll Vegas today. And then they kind of slogged along. Baker threw a couple of bad interceptions. One of them was an insane play by Vegas. I'll give him that. One of the crazier plays you will see at the line of scrimmage on a screen-looking pass. But, a little bit reckless with them. The run game was really good. Bucky Irving played but got banged up. He was banged up coming in, got banged up again. They really just leaned on Rachaad White. He had a really nice day on the ground. Cade Otton was solid. Mike Evans, doing a pretty decent job. Defense isn't great. We know their run defense is kind of the best part of this team. Their secondary is so bad, and they lost Antoine Winfield Jr., probably the best part of that secondary right now. So Tampa Bay is in a little bit of a shaky spot, but they are in first place in the NFC South with the collapse of the Falcons. So they do got to finish a game ahead of Atlanta because they do not own the tiebreaker, but I think they're trending in the right direction, and the schedule is very, very soft. They are at the Chargers this week. That's their toughest remaining game. But after this, they got the Saints, they got the Panthers, and I think they got the Cowboys. So a very favorable schedule for Tampa Bay. And you know what? Hosting a playoff game, you never know what can happen. We saw it last year. Hosted a game, beat the Eagles, and really pushed Detroit to the max last year. So Tampa could be a live dog this year in the postseason once again. Baker loves those kind of situations. Tampa Bay here at number 11. At 10, I got the Chargers here. The Chargers looked, relatively solid. Their defense performed pretty well against the Kansas City Chiefs. We know this offense, though, is banged up. No J.K. Dobbins again, obviously, but no Lad McConkey either. They just were really lacking the weapons, especially in the first half. They did start to get something going a little bit in the second half. They had a semblance of a run game, but they just really can't run the football with Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal in the backfield. Justin Herbert's kind of their best option, I think, running, and you don't want to see Herbert running too much. He's taking a lot of hits too. We got good Quentin Johnson Sunday night also, which helped out a bit, because if you get back Quentin Johnson, there's absolutely nothing on this team. I like Josh Palmer, but you can't be your number one wide receiver option. Defense was excellent. They were killing Mahomes, but of course, they give up the late drive. They give up the third down conversion, and that's all she wrote. But I was impressed with the Chargers. I think their physical play, and if they can get J.K. Dobbins back, which they're projecting like week 17, he says he's back. He says he's going to be back when he's available to come back from IR. If they get Dobbins back week 17, week 18, get him back for that playoff game, this is a team that can go on the road and upset a couple of people. I like their tenacity. I like their physicality. And Justin Herbert, man, he is still a big-time quarterback. Get my man Lad McConkey back out there. Put the running game to good use. And the Chargers could be a real sneaky good team in their first year under Jim Harbaugh here at 10. Okay, Washington was on bye this week at number 9. One of the better stories in the NFL this year. Dan Quinn's done an excellent job turning around a defensive unit that was like the worst in the league, some were projecting. And they're really not that bad. They're kind of average, especially as of late. The offense has struggled recently, but they put a beat down on a bad Tennessee Titans team. It's what you wanted to see. Jaden Daniels, the bye week is probably really going to help. Those ribs have been banged up for a while now. He looked like he was starting to get healthy last week. If he had The injury still nagging with him. That's going to be awesome, man, if he can get healthy, feel better, play better. He just adds so much more dynamicness to this offense. He can throw the ball. He can move the pocket. He can take off and run. Terry McLaurin's still a dude. We want to get Brian Robinson healthy. This run game with Robinson in the backfield is so much better. We know Eckler's out. I don't know what Eckler's status is going to be with the concussions, but really this run game relies on Brian Robinson. When he's missed, they've struggled to run the football. They've struggled to do anything on offense, and it's been kind of on the defense to get the job done, and they've been kind of slipping up the last few weeks. But now, if they can get some cohesiveness on offense in the running game, the defense is going to play complementary football, and I think the Washington Commanders are probably going to find themselves in a wild card spot way ahead of schedule in their first year with their rookie quarterback and new head coach Dan Quinn. Okay, Green Bay here at number 8. Really good game on Thursday night at Detroit. And you got to feel sick if you're Green Bay that you let this one slip. You know, untimely offensive pass interference call that made you settle for a field goal. You give up the long drive. Dan Campbell, 5 fourth down attempts. He converts on 4 of them, 2 of them for touchdowns. I think the stat was the Lions have scored 6 touchdowns against the Packers this year in their 2 games. 4 of them have been on 4th down. So you're just 3 plays away from totally flipping the script on this season for everybody. But I was a little bit concerned. The offense didn't really do a whole lot. They weren't really moving the football. Beneficial of some penalties early in the game on their first good drive. Had a short field a couple of times on the 4th down stop and the Goff interception. So they really were struggling to move the ball. They didn't look super sharp against the Lions defense that's really banged up. I have some concerns about Green Bay. You know, Jordan Love just isn't quite the Jordan Love everyone was expecting him to be. There's no true elite wide receiver number 1. Tucker Kraft's nice, but they got to throw it to Tucker Kraft. The run game has been good, power running football. And this defense isn't as good as people think it is. They turn people over, but they give up a ton of yards and a ton of points when they aren't forcing turnovers. So they're super turnover dependent. Otherwise, they are going to get gashed. So Green Bay kind of in a weird spot. Sneaky big game this week at Seattle. They lose this week to Seattle, and they lose to Minnesota in 2 weeks, and they could be out of the playoffs just like that. So kind of a tenuous situation here for the Packers at number 8. Okay, Baltimore at 7, also on a bye. We know about the Ravens, man. They're probably not going to win this division, though. Pittsburgh looks like they're running away with this thing. And it's just like their special teams is awful with Justin Tucker. Their defense really isn't that good. Their secondary is abysmal. They aren't quite getting the production at the pass rush that they got last year. Still really good in the run game. Offense is, solid, but it feels like they're lacking offensive weapons again. Zay Flowers can disappear at sometimes. Mark Andrews is welcome back, man. We still have the king at running back, so we got to lean on Henry to run the football. Lamar Jackson can make amazing plays, and he does amazing things, but when he's forced to drop back there and become a top-tier passer, he just doesn't quite do it, especially against bad teams. They let bad teams hang around, and they lose these games. It's kind of really weird. It feels very un-Baltimore Raven-like. But again, if you told me the Ravens went on a run here, rolled off 4 in a row, 3 of them on the road, won the Super Bowl, I would not at all be surprised. Maybe a little surprised, but be like, oh, good for Baltimore. Yeah, they have a talent. This is an elitely talented team. I still trust Harbaugh as an elite tier coach, but the Ravens here at 7, just way too many questions and not enough answers for me. Speaking of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got the Steelers here at number 6. Man, what a great job by Mike Tomlin. It's got to be up for one of the coaches of the year discussions. Man, I think their win total was like 6.5, maybe 7.5 in Vegas. They got a stranglehold on this AFC North. It feels like they're probably going to win this division, and it's a terrible place to go play a football game. And the way the Steelers want to play, man, led by this great defense. Now, George Pickens was a late scratch against Cleveland, and the offense kind of struggled. Russell Wilson really wasn't that sharp. I would say Najee Harris was okay on the ground. Cleveland's defense kind of hit or miss. They do a really good job of taking away your number 1 wide receiver, so it's your number 2 wide receiver, and you're relying on your 3, 4 guys. Pat Freiermuth had a nice touchdown grab for him. I think you got to get him more involved in the offense, Russ. Get it going, but this defense is awesome, man. They force turnovers, they rush the quarterback, they cover people, they hit you, they're nasty, they're physical, they're Pittsburgh Steelers football. And again, they're going to be hosting a playoff game, probably in bad weather, going to be hard to throw on them, going to be really hard to run on them, and the offense will probably do just enough. Russell Wilson's throwing a jump ball, George Pickens doing something crazy, catching the ball and grabbing a DB and snapping his neck, whatever he's doing out there. But this is a really tough Pittsburgh team. But when you look at the matchups they're probably going to have to face in the AFC, second, third round, is this team good enough? I don't know if Russell Wilson quite has enough juice on offense for this team, but the defense might just be good enough. I think maybe they're ultimately a little bit limited offensively, but the defense could carry the day, but we'll have to wait and see. Pittsburgh here at number 6. Okay, my Vikings staying here at number 5. Maybe their best, easily. You know what? I'm going to say their best offensive performance of the year. 42 points against the Atlanta Falcons. Sam Darnold was absolutely dealing. 347, 5 touchdowns, no picks. He has been lights out since that disaster Jacksonville Jaguars game. He has been on an MVP-like tear the last month or so. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, living up to their pedigree. Both over $130. 5 touchdowns between the two of them. 3 for J.A. Aaron Jones was solid on the ground, had a late touchdown for them. Defense kind of looked a little bit shaky. This run defense 2 weeks in a row now hasn't been as good as it's been. Teams are starting to move the football on them. Still not great in the secondary. Guys are open up there, but when you're able to rush the quarterback, you can cover up for some injuries on the back end. Not so much talent. You know, they were missing Stephon Gilmore, but all around, they still tops in the league. I think they're number 2 in turnovers, might be number 1 in interceptions. They're tops in pressures. They're still really high in scoring defense. So if they can put it all together, this is a very dangerous team. Sam Darnold in this offense, I think, just has enough juice to carry him. The bad thing is they might have the second best record in the conference and have to go on the road for 3 games because of the Detroit Lions. And they've already gone 3 in a row on the road once this season and won all 3. I just think it's going to be tough for them to do it again. If the Vikings were going to win a division, host a couple of rounds of the playoffs, I'd feel a lot more confident in a potential Super Bowl run. But for right now, Vikings here at 5, as long as the Lions remain in first place. Okay, the Eagles, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned with them here at number 4. The record's still great. The vibes are really, really bad the last few weeks. It feels like they flipped 180 again. This is the problem with diva wide receivers. A.J. Brown is a diva wide receiver, and he's acting like a diva. They can't pass. You know, we got people saying that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown used to be great friends, and now they're not friends anymore. Like, what is going on in Philadelphia? They can't throw the football. They have so many weapons on offense, and they just can't throw the football. Now, they're one of the best, if not the best running team in the NFL. Saquon Barkley, what a season's he having. Definitely needs some recognition how great he is. Ben, he's close. I mean, he's got a real shot to break the rushing record. I know he's got the extra game, but he's definitely threatening that record right now. It's been awesome, but this defense is really the key to this team. They got beat a little bit by this Carolina Panthers offense, so maybe a little bit shaky there. We know they're great in the run game. They can get after the quarterback. The secondary has been the big story, the big turnaround for them. And you know what? I'm a little bit worried about them, but they do have 4 weeks to get this thing figured out. They're probably locked in at that 2 seed in the NFC. So you're going to host 2 playoff games and then maybe have to go onto the road to Detroit. And you know what? That's not the worst place in the world to play. I think playing indoors could help the Eagles out a lot. Now, if one team upsets the Lions, say Minnesota goes in Detroit, upsets them, Green Bay goes in and upsets them, you're hosting the NFC Championship game. Nobody wants to go play in Philly right now. So it's setting up really well for the Eagles, but I am very cautious for these last 4 weeks of the season. I want to watch them closely, see if they can get these things figured out, because you don't want to sink into that black hole they sunk into last year at the end of the season, and we saw it blow up in round 1 against the Buccaneers. Eagles here at 4. Okay, Bills dropping him a spot here at number 3. Has a guy ever lost a game and locked up the MVP? Josh Allen, out of this world. 6 touchdowns for him. 3 on the ground, 3 in the air. 42 points. No turnovers for this Bills team. And they lost the game. It's the first time ever that has happened in the National Football League. Really, really tough look for them. This is a concern, though, because Sean McDermott in this defense really turned it around. This has probably been why the Bills have been so successful this year. The defense has been so much better than we thought they were going to be with these new pieces inserted into the lineup. And the Rams just absolutely exposed them. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't cover anybody. They couldn't get to Stafford. And it was bad, man. It was really, really concerning. If you're going to get an offensive output like that from the Bills and still lose, I'm very concerned now. But most weeks, you're probably going to get a better defensive performance against that. But in the playoffs, you never know. But Buffalo probably going to be the 2 seed in the AFC. So that means you're going to Buffalo. It's going to be awful, terrible weather. You're not going to be able to sit in sunny LA and toss the pigskin around. It's going to be an ugly, nose-grinding game. And I love Josh Allen in the elements, in those conditions, because nothing is a factor for him. He is the best quarterback in the world right now. At least he's playing that way, certainly playing better than anybody out there right now. Great for them. I still want to see, Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Amari Cooper, and James Cook in the running game out there. They got to get the running game going a little bit more. I think not just rely on Allen. Get James Cook more involved. Get Ray Davis more involved just to take some of the load off, and then let Josh Allen go be Superman. Bills here at number 3, but we know what the measuring stick is. Can they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in January? Okay, bumping the Kansas City Chiefs up to 2. Everyone's going to be like, oh my God, what? The Chiefs, they do it every week, guys. Like, we know what the deal is. This is not a very pretty football team. The defense has been pretty good all around. Now, they are a little bit more break than don't bend. Their pass defense isn't as good as the start of the season. Run defense is still really, really good. Spagnuolo and them are going to get it figured out. The offense is still just really slogging along. They can't get the running game established. Passing attack is limited. The offensive line is not good. Mahomes is getting killed out there. They're kicking way too many field goals. But when push comes to shove, we know Mahomes gets the ball. He's got to go win the game. He's going to win the game every time. Got to make a play. It's just ridiculous. It's stupid at this point. And of course the kicker hits the upright, and of course it goes in for them to win. They just find new and unique ways for everybody to hate them. But Kansas City, you know what? They've won the AFC West. They're probably going to be your 1 seed. You're going to have to go to Arrowhead. Someone's got to go in there and beat them. They only got to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. Again, we are seriously looking at a potential 3-peat with the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 2. But at number 1, the biggest I don't give a shit attitude, Mr. Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions. Lions having their best season in the 96-year franchise history. They have been awesome, 12-1 on the year, but they got to be really pissed off. They are only 1 game up in the NFC North. They aren't running away with this thing. Kansas City's clinched, Buffalo's clinched, Philly's, probably about to clinch. They got to be furious right now that the Vikings are just hanging around. But we know how good this team can be offensively. 2-headed backfield monster with Sonic and Knuckles. Amon-Ra St. Brown. We're getting a lot more Sam Laporta involved. Jared Goff is really, really good indoors, man. He is lights out inside under nice conditions, and that's probably where they're going to be playing. If he can get to Goff, he does struggle a little bit. Defense is probably my biggest concern down the stretch here. They are just really, really banged up. They did a relatively nice job against Green Bay, but there's still a lot of concerns. Kirby Joseph, probably a really dirty player. Honestly, he just dives at knees. Taking the kneecap biting a little bit too seriously. But Dan Campbell don't care. They got the philosophy. He's flirting on the line of reckless and aggressive, like just plain stupid that last 4th down, I thought. But it worked out. They set the tone. They play a certain way. They're going to keep playing that way until they aren't allowed to play anymore. So the Lions here at number 1, probably going to have home field throughout the playoffs. I would be a little surprised if they aren't in New Orleans come February, but that's going to do it for us. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. I love going back and forth with you guys. Who do I have too high? Who do I have too low? If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video, subscribe to the channel. We got new daily sports content every single day. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. You get all sorts of access to cool and exclusive content. We got a members only video each and every Friday for you guys to help boost those memberships out there. We're really trying to get on the members train. Plus you get all sorts of cool emojis, me raging out to use during the live streams throughout the year. Probably going to have a lot more live streams come playoff time. Watch those playoff games with you guys. And if you want to check out one of your teams in person, head on over to SeatGeek.com. Use code AfterTheReview for $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek.com. Code AfterTheReview for $20 off your first purchase. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.